So I'm here in Beats One London studios with Kamasi Washington. First time I've met you. Thank you very much for coming in. It's good to chat to you.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to go through the 5 best songs on Apple Music now. Are these tough choices to make?
It was very tough. Especially, it's always like the fourth and the fifth one.
I know. Because the first few are like, you know, they're keepers wherever you are. And then it's like, but what do I do here?
Yeah, that when you have to choose between two, it's like,
To start, I kind of want to know, what does Kamasi Washington do to chill out and listen to music? Do you have a special place? Do you need to be in a certain kind of frame of mind to just, you know, as a fan, approach music?
I mean, when I'm really listening to music, I have a vinyl set up and I just really sit down and just listen to music and kind of space out.
Where is that?
At my house. Well, I moved it into my studio because my vinyl collection got kind of too big.
Wait. How many are we talking about?
It's a few thousand.
Oh, my word. We're going to get into this first song now. Lee Morgan, The Gigolo. Where did you first hear this?
So when I was about 11 years old, my dad had been trying to get me into jazz my whole life. He's a musician.
Ricky, right?
Ricky Washington.
I've met Ricky.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I met him at that show, that New York show.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was on the merch stand.
Oh, yeah.
And I subsequently found out because there was an article with a picture of him. And I was like, that's the guy that I met. So I've met Ricky.
So my dad had taught me how to read music and stuff like that. And so I had this cousin who played trumpet. And he used to want me to show him how to play certain songs that he couldn't necessarily read. And so we became like friends. It was my way in. You know what I mean? Like when you're the little brother, no one wants you to come around. It was like, I can read music. Now I'm like, I have like a way in. I was like getting into the club, you know? And it was, so he gave me this mixtape of a bunch of like Art Blakey and Lee Morgan songs. And this was like my favorite song from the mixtape.
How old would you have been at this point?
I was 11 years old. And this is what got me into jazz. I was playing clarinet at that point.
All right, we are here with Kamasi Washington going through the 5 best songs in Apple Music. We kicked it off with Lee Morgan and The Gigolo. Did you ever rebel against jazz music when you were growing up? Was there ever a stage when you were like, you know what? I kind of want to go and form a punk band or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all before that. Before my cousin gave me that mixtape, I was like 100% gangster rap, West Coast hip hop. Yeah, that's all I was into.
Your dad must have loved it when you came on board.
Oh, he was so happy.
Did you go to church and do that kind of thing when you were growing up as well?
I was playing clarinet and I had switched instruments 3 times at that point. And so I was listening to this record, and Wayne Shorter was my favorite musician from that whole Art Blakey clique.
Yeah.
And I wanted to switch to saxophone. And my dad came up in the 70s where if you were a saxophone player, you had to be a doubler. And clarinet is the hardest of the woodwind instruments that you have to play. And so he wanted me to get better on clarinet. And I was just itching to get to the saxophone. And he was telling me that it was the same thing. And I was like, man, it don't sound the same. And so one day, I just took his saxophone and I figured out how to play this song called Sleep and Dance or Sleep On. And I went and showed him that I could play it. And I was like, it's too late. I already play saxophone. I already switched. And he was like, okay. And so like that next Sunday, he took me to my uncle's church and I joined the church band.
Wow.
And I was playing, I didn't even know what the notes were.
Wow.
And, yeah, but the church is cool because they're so like supportive. It was like, oh baby, you sound great.
You're like wildly off key.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, the kind of musical coming together of people in American churches fascinates me. I've done a bit of traveling in the States and I've gone to churches on the Blues Belt in the South and things like that. And it's incredible. It's so far away from what we have here. And everybody's seen it on the TV, even if you've never experienced it yourself. What you see on the TV of just that communal loudness, it is kind of true, isn't it? That's what it's like.
Well, it's to me, it's the most prolific music school in especially in the United States. It's like, it's where most of the musicians, I mean, particularly in the African American community, it's where you have the opportunity to learn how to play music. James
Brown, next choice. Greatest of all time, do you think?
Oh, yeah. So coming out of high school, I joined this band called the Polyester Players.
Polyester Players?
Yeah, and it was like a funk band. And and that's where I really learned how to play funk. And like I remember playing a bunch of James Brown songs. I remember I got this record and I bought the movie too.
Did you ever see him play live or anything?
Nah, I never saw James Brown. Whoa, yes I did.
Wow.
I did. I saw him play live at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow. What was it like?
It was great. I mean, I was young, so I don't know if I fully appreciated it then, but like in my mind's memory,
you do.
I do.
You're going to, aren't you? The next tune we're going to play is by Snoop, who is just an absolute demon when it comes to crossing genres. The tune that you picked came out in 2006 when you would have been about 25, but he played at your college, right? And it was quite a formative gig that you saw.
Oh no! So I started playing with. That was my first tours with Snoop when I started college.
While you were in college?
Yeah, and I used to miss like 5 weeks of every quarter. Every 10-week quarter, I would miss 5 weeks going on tour with Snoop.
That early? I didn't realize it was that early. How did that hookup come about?
Terrace Martin. Terrace started working with Battle Cat, and Battle Cat got us on one gig with Snoop on Jay Leno. And then Snoop, when he heard the full band, he was like, I'm taking the band on the road when we watch. And then he took us out on the road.
So how old would you have been at that point?
I was about 19, 20.
19 years old, on the road with Snoop.
It was like a whole different world.
Just in America? How long was the tour?
We were touring on and off. I toured on and off for Snoop for a good 6 years, maybe 5 years. I was a Snoopadelic.
I mean, Snoop has this rep for partying on tour and getting into that sort of thing. Was that something that the whole band were dragged into as well? Or how professional was this tour we're talking about?
No comment.
No comment needed in that case. So this tune that you picked, Off the Blue Carpet Treatment, why this particular song for the 5 best songs on Apple Music?
It was our favorite song to play as a band. Like, and we didn't always play it, but like every once in a while, Nate Dogg would join the band, and it was like, oh, I hope we're gonna play crazy. You know, like Fred Wreck was in the band too, so it was just one of those songs that I just remember loving this song so much, and it was like I still play it now. Like anytime I play Dominoes, it's like the Domino song for some reason for me now. But
awesome, man. So here's the thing: if you weren't doing music, what do you reckon you'd be doing?
I'd be an astronaut. Nah,
serious?
I'd be somewhere in math or science. You know, like when I graduated from high school, I was applying to colleges, and I applied to USC, and they denied me as a music major and accepted me as a physics major.
Oh,
and I
wow.
almost took it as like a sign.
In that note, I feel like, you know, you are doing. If that actually happened, I feel like you should drop the music thing and go back to science now. You're needed, especially with the world the way that it is.
Oh yeah.
The next tune is an all-out classic, Aretha Franklin. When did she come into your life?
You know, that came from my mom's side of the music. I felt blessed. I had a balance because my mom was like, she loved Aretha Franklin, Chaka Khan, Whitney Houston, and like that soulful side of music, it kind of balanced very well to me with the other side. And so
you kind of need it, don't you?
Yeah.
Those things where they can just toss out those perfect kind of 3-minute classic melody songs.
It's like the other version of the complicated music. It's complicated in its simplicity.
So where do you think you go from here then? If we were to meet up in 10 years' time on this show again, would you still want to be in the same position you're in now and still making music and touring and making music and touring?
10 years from now, I'll be a different person, and I don't even know who that dude will be.
Sometimes you do meet musicians and they're like, I need to be doing this by the age of this, and by album 4 we want to be doing this. And they are like, you know, people approach it in very, very different ways.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone finds their happiness in different ways. I mean, for me, it's more, it's not the accolades. It's more like, you know, so like making cool music. I'm hoping I'm making cool music. You know, I have things like, this is a graphic novel I want to make. I have, you know, ideas of like designing my own video game. I have this idea for like a show for Cirque du Soleil. I don't know, I have all kind of weird, crazy things that are like on my docket list of things that I would like to do.
Video game. What characters are we talking about in a video game?
I'm a fighting game fan, so you know Street Fighter is my game. I'm one of the best in the world. But
would you be a character in Street Fighter?
I'll absolutely be an amazing character in Street Fighter.
What would your secret move be?
My secret move would probably be like a loud saxophone note, like sound wave thing. I don't know.
Sound wave throwing someone into like the Big Bang or something.
Yeah. I almost, like, even though I want to be the character, I feel like it should be like Bleeding Guns Murphy, and like he should be a character in Street Fighter, and he can like play a really high note. That
jazz legend to a lot of people, Bleeding Guns Murphy. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Fela Kuti, final track. Why this?
When I got to UCLA and I started studying music from around the world, Fela was one of the first people I really, really got into. It really kind of opened my mind to how vast music is. I felt like my experience traveling around the world was almost a little different than everyone else's because every place I went to, I was kind of privy to like the music from those places, and I was like trying to search out musicians and music and people who were making music like that. And the crazy part is like when you have these experiences where you're making music with people who you cannot talk to because they don't speak your language.
Yeah, I bet.
And like, but they speak your musical, like music is its own universal language, and I feel like I can speak to anyone on earth musically.
It's all about personality. All 5 of these songs have big personality. Kamasi Washington, thank you very much for coming in.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.